Listen, I was the senior advisor of the DCCC in the 2018 cycle when we flipped the House. And one of our strategies was to recruit people with national security backgrounds who kind of came out of the woodwork, out of their own kind of love of country and patriotism and desire to serve in a different way in a time of crisis for the country. And, out of that came Alyssa Slotkin and Abigail Spanberger and Mikey Sherrill and Jason Crow and Andy Kim and, a remarkable group of people that emerged.
And they're doing okay.
Yeah, they're doing okay. And I actually was quoted in articles in the 2018 cycle saying this 2018 class is going to be known in future years as like the class of 1946, that a class that ended up defining American leadership for generations. And I do believe that we began to see this. I mean, I think when you think about the new Democratic Party that's going to emerge in the coming years, one big strain of it is the Spanberger, Sherrill, Slotkin, Rebecca Bennett, in this cycle, Elaine Luria, right? These people that served in national security capacities. And going back to your point about the military, I think one of the things that I've learned in working with these candidates in recent years is that people who've served in the military are well suited for politics, actually, because they're used to fighting, which is what politics is. It's a form of, it's war by other means. And it's also, they know how to build a plan and stay on task and execute well, and which is all these things you get trained to do. And so I think not only is it giving you life experience and a background, to your point, that's valuable, it also gives you skills that are very well suited to a political campaign and to governing. And so we do have a lot of veterans running again. And I do agree with you. I mean, one of the things that I think is this thing that we're hamstrung as Democrats, and for Hopium people, they'll recognize what I'm about to say, is that this kind of the sort of soft comfort of sticking to kitchen table issues, which has been argued by our many consultants and pollsters in our family as disciplined and rigorous, whereas I view it as sometimes cowardly, to be honest, because the idea that we aren't going to also be talking about our role in the world, about freedom and democracy, about corruption, and all these other things that are obviously central to our discourse and our journey. I mean, even just take what's happening with screwworm, right? I mean, screwworm, which is the first time it's been here since the 1960s, is a direct result of Trump cutting USAID programs in Central America that prevented screwworm from, migrating northward. And so we can't pretend like the world isn't there. We can't have this kind of soft comfort of healthcare and the economy. These things, we have to have a more muscular vision, for freedom and democracy here and everywhere. And, it's why, by the way, Stuart, and I'd love to pivot back to, in this vein, we had a great vote on Ukraine last week in the House. We passed the Ukraine Support Act, HR 2913. It was the first time in this Trump presidency that we saw an affirmative set of, a program that would not only sanction Putin and Russia, but would also support Ukraine. I mean, give us your update on what's happening in Ukraine and your general assessment of how, the encouragement we should have of seeing that, the House step up for the Ukrainians as they should be, and Zelensky.
It's fascinating when you talk to Ukrainian veterans who fought in the first weeks. They'll just say, what we're doing now, that's like the Crimean War. We have nothing compared to what we're doing now. Going out there with javelins and blowing up tanks, because we don't do that shit anymore. And I think that there was this advantage that the Ukrainians had of a society that was segments of it highly educated in a somewhat old Soviet system that valued mathematics and a lot of engineering. And they had the motivation that, they're trying to kill me and kill my family. And out of that, they've reinvented war. And it's tangible how it feels that Ukraine is winning now. And that cycle should probably only accelerate. You know, I can't personally see a way this war ends while Putin is still alive, because I think if he didn't have a war, he wouldn't be alive. But you know, what we're seeing in Ukraine is something that, you know, this is going to be inspirational for generations. I mean, it's the sort of thing that, you know, will be heralded as definition of heroism. The way a society has resisted and embraced the commitment to live a normal life as much as possible as a form of resistance. But, you know, Ukraine is a big, big country, you know, over 40 million still there. But it's very hard to find a family that hasn't been touched by the war. And it's both incredibly sad and incredibly inspiring. But they know, they've been given lessons by the Russians of what it's like to live under Russian rule. And they become slaves. And horror stories. And they're not going to live like that. They literally would fight to the last person if it came down to it. I mean, I saw some military guy refer to him as the modern Sparta, and that's really what they're creating. It's one of the shameful chapters in American history that we have not done more. And I just think about, you know, what it's like to grow up now in Ukraine and have such role models that you can look to across, not just Zelensky, but across society. The musicians, the actors, the advertising executives, the farmers,
tennis players,
you know, tennis players, the women who have fought. And how that changes your life forever, to have them to, this is what they've done. And what it's like to grow up in America now and see this corrupt kleptocracy of racist thugs. It's so sad